Hey, you guys. This is ASargentArt. Please like and subscribe. All the YouTube stuff. But really, I am sitting down to work on my Bergen sketch. And I thought this was actually a good time to show you kind of my thought process for my second layer. Adding the values and that kind of stuff, and also tell you a little bit about my trip. So I hope you're all doing well and having a good start of summer. And so we went to Bergen as one of the places that we stopped on our 3-week Scandinavian adventure. And this was the only time we had such amazing weather that we seemed to beat the rain no matter where we went, including when it was supposed to rain all weekend in Flom. And then we had this absolutely tremendous day of kayaking and hiking, and it was just gorgeous. So, but the one afternoon that we were rained out, so to speak, we probably just kind of needed a rest. Was in Bergen, and Bergen is the land of rhododendrons and umbrellas, our hiking guide told us. So I was thinking about going to a museum that was across the street, but then I just thought, why don't I just get an Aperol Spritz and get my sketchbook and look out, hang out in this beautiful lobby and look out the window at these people going by. Well, the scene out the window, but also these people going by. And somebody actually walked by with a turquoise umbrella right under the window, which you guys, well, my students know how much I love turquoise, so I didn't even have to pretend. These buildings across here, maybe I'll attach the photo reference, they are not this dynamic, but buildings on the other side of the bay are that dynamic in color. There's beautiful pictures of Bergen with the, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Brygge. That part of town, which is the only remaining wood structures in Bergen. The rest of them have all burnt down. They've had so many fires in Bergen. And these are under renovation right now, but the only remaining wood structures, I think, of the original town. So they're pretty important and historic to the town, but they're colored very beautifully. So I took the liberty of, Steve is always telling me that I need to make I think I'm getting a little too literal in my colors, which is not great if you live in the Northwest, as far as making fun, cheery paintings. So I'm trying to take more liberties with my colors. So I went a little crazy with the colors last night. I also wanted to show you that I was showing somebody something in my book. And what was I showing them? Oh, I think I was showing them the Blue Lagoon picture, because I don't know if you can see that, or if anybody could see it on the Instagram post, but I tried to keep their faces white and then put gouache over their faces. I realized I should have used like a green mask. That would have been much more obvious, but for some reason I wanted to do white. So this is from the Blue Lagoon. There is no scene like this at the Blue Lagoon, but I sort of wanted to capture, it's a weird place. It was a great place to beat the jet lag, because we were stuck in Reykjavik for 8 hours in the middle of the night, our time. So floating in water was fantastic. It was very easy to stay awake. But it's definitely a tourist trap, and there's all this, like, you're in the middle of this moonscape with lava rocks and stuff, and then there's all this industrial stuff, so you can see how much man-made stuff has gone into just pumping this operation. So I definitely wanted to capture some of that. My tundra mountain didn't really turn out so good, but you know what? He wasn't the main point, so that's okay. I didn't have time. Oh, this is the one from Copenhagen, Nyhaven. I didn't have time to do as much sketching as I had hoped. I actually had more time in Copenhagen and more space, because we were in an Airbnb. If you ever go to Copenhagen, I highly recommend this Airbnb. but we were staying in his home and had this beautiful table, and he was an artist, it turned out. So he had this amazing, just cool artwork, and there were art supplies out. I even tried some of his Posca markers, which I was like, I'm not sure I like that, but there's nothing you can do now. So at least it's turquoise. So anyway, that was a more hospitable place for actually kind of spreading myself out, because as you can see, that's a bit of a, it's just a bit of a production. You just need some space to open up the paint. To draw, very simple. We can do that with pen and paper. So this is a sketch I started of Christiania. And this one is actually going to be really cool when I finish it, because they had cool sort of anti-American propaganda type posters and stuff. And that, it would be interesting to show you if you're interested, let me know. It would be interesting to show you the photo reference for this, because this was graffitied. It was very detailed. And I don't know what I'm going to do with that, to be honest. I'm not going to replicate his drawing, because it'll frankly detract from what I liked about this container, which was the anti-American slogans. And I think this was a Palestine slogan. I forget what these say. But that was kind of that was what captured this image for me. So I don't want to get distracted with somebody else's graffiti. So I may make a choice to make that less noticeable. And frankly, I'm not, because it wasn't the focal point to me, I'm not as interested in like drawing that out. It would take a long time. He frankly is an amazing artist. Okay, this is one that I did while Steve ran up to the Airbnb in Copenhagen to get his sweater. And I think I used my pen to do kind of the perspective, like Ian Fennelly, like I learned from Ian Fennelly. And I think I kind of got it right, but it's stark. This is the top of the building, obviously going to this tiny little place down the street. And then there's all these bicycles on it, and I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to do that one. I should probably just sit down with a beer and like let it fly, because getting worked up by details is not going to work on that one. This is from the airport. Airports are excellent places to draw, frankly, because you're sitting in a chair waiting for your plane. So, and at this one in Stavanger, we were flying to, well, actually, we were supposed to fly to Bergen, but they rerouted us to Oslo and then to Bergen. So we saw a lot of Norwegian airports, and I have to tell you, they're some of the nicest airports I have ever seen, including this one in Stavanger that had a whole play area for kids. And this mom and these people were sitting over here, and it was just kind of a nice place. They had pretty comfortable chairs. So anyway, I was like, yeah, I'll draw that. That's cool. Okay, so back to Bergen. I've already started some of what I was going to do, which is add value to the backside of this sidewalk, make that pop a little bit. I may have to do something with the top here. I'm not sure. So decisions that I need to make, I want to fill in these windows because of course they were reflecting the dark rainy day, and they are pretty much black. So my question to myself is, am I going to fill them in with paint? And so I can vary the colors and the tones, or am I just going to fill them in with grayscale markers or even black markers? And I think, actually, I'm just going to fill them with grayscale markers. Usually I would do it with paint, but I just got these really cool markers. Uh-oh. Can I not find the rest of them? Tape is rolling, people. Oh, here we go. I usually would use paint, but I would also feel frustrated because these are really tiny shapes. I mean, these tiny little, and not only are they tiny shapes, these tiny little windows, and I'm not going to do all of them, but they were also cool. Like some, these are old buildings with a lot of decorative details. So some of them were oval. They were all double paned. So that's just the kind of thing that's going to start to get really irritating with a paintbrush to me, even though I'm losing the ability to, take some turquoise and some darks and some purple and, and mix in different colors in the windows, which would frankly look a lot cooler. But I'm going to try it this way this time because I usually don't, and I usually end up feeling frustrated. And so let's just see how it goes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I don't know my grayscale markers very well yet. So I'm going to look at how dark they are and which ones I want to use. That is pretty dark. That is not quite as dark. That's interesting. Okay, let's use these three. All right, and then here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take all of them, keep them all at the ready, and because I can actually bounce around a little bit, and this will do a good job adding some different values. So I can, oh, that's the same color as last time. Let's try this one. Oh, this one was curved also. So let's do that. Now, I will tell you, I noticed from the Nyhaven photo that there's different things happening in different windows, depending on where the light is coming down, what's being reflected across the way. Oh, shoot. And, oh man, that went all the way across the table. This is the worst video ever. If you guys were here, I would be acting just as weird, so that's cool. In fact, that's making me think I might want to do some blue in there, so let's go ahead and mix up some blue. I dropped my spritzer. Sorry, I'm still in Scandinavia time. I've had a headache for 4 days. I dropped my spritzer and it broke. Just so sad. Okay, so then, I was going to talk about blue for a second. Oh, I'm reflecting blue. That's what we're doing here. We are reflecting blue. So let's go ahead and mix a little blue where you might be able to see it. And the reason, there's a little purple in it. That's fine. The reason I'm doing this here, I have too much water. You can see that I have too much water because it's like a little, it's raised. It's a little pool. And that's fine, but it just means that I'm not going to get any value because it's just mostly water. So what I need to do is take more paint. And I might like that pink in there. I'm rinsing the blue out because I don't want the blue on top of this pink. Blue on anything will infect your color. And most colors I'm not that careful with, but blue just changes everything. Blue is a very powerful color, and I really want this to be, I want to be able to use that with different things. I make oranges out of it, I make browns out of it. I do make purples out of it, but if I make a brown with green, I don't want blue in there also. Okay, so let's try this. Oh, still too much water. So what I'm going to do, because there's too much water, I'm just going to tap it off. So what I'm doing here is I am able to achieve different values without too much consternation. Actually, okay, so I know that I said I was going to do this with marker, and I'm not. But what I'm noticing actually is I'm kind of liking the windows were very they were very patterned, and I know every architect watching this is going to feel this is a sacrilege, but I'm actually kind of liking how this brush is making just different shapes and marks. I think I might kind of shake up some of those. I was so careful when I put the pen down, but now I'm kind of liking the randomness of it. Letting my brush kind of, this is a 3 black velvet silver. No, I'm sorry, it's a 6. It's kind of the size of a 3 though, I gotta be so honest. That's why I thought it was a 3. I use it as my smaller brush. Now, I gotta tell you, I'm a little surprised by how loose I am being right now because I was pretty careful with the drawing. But I'm kind of digging it. Having fun chatting with y'all, thinking about my trip, feeling the feeling of being in this setting, you know, feeling very like, wow, I remember this moment in this trip, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it was a moment not without consternation, you know, like people say, oh, have a great time on your trip, enjoy every minute. Well, you know, I'm frankly somebody who finds traveling to be a bit of type 2 fun in the sense that it's not easy for me. I'm kind of a stickler. I kind of like to be kind of a homebody. I just found out my dog is dying, so I was a little stressed out to leave. And so yeah, it's not without its moments. And this was a moment in the sense that I felt like I should go outside. I felt like I should go to a museum, go see another site. I kept telling myself, but we had a beautiful hike today, and can't that be enough? You know, like, can you just let it go and let that be enough? And Steve was happy to let that be enough. But I'm just a little more type A, you know? And so I wasn't cutting myself that kind of slack, and I kept threatening, I'm gonna go to that museum, and I'm gonna, you know, and then I'd look outside and there's tourists out there, and they're making it in their ponchos and blah blah blah, you know. So I just was being a little hard on myself. And then finally I just ordered a drink and got my sketchbook out, and somebody walked by in a turquoise umbrella, and I'm like, is there really anywhere I'd rather be? Anything I'd rather be doing on my vacation right now than this? No. And then I was able to relax. And now that I've have the base down of this, maybe finding myself relaxing a little more with the paint too, and just kind of having maybe a slightly better time. Okay, so like these, I'm just going to let those be loose because they're falling outside of my frame. You know, the reality is this is my focal point, and I haven't yet decided if keeping them white is going to work. I have 2 reasons for keeping them white. One is it brings contrast to the rest of what's going on. The other is, frankly, the drawing part turned out really good. I'm afraid I'm gonna mess it up if I put paint on it. So that is the other reason. I just am not sure that I want to. I'm not sure it's gonna improve things. Let's put it that way. I'm not sure painting it is going to improve things. Now I just want to put something on the street, get a little contrast here with this plant. And I'm trying to keep this Architects, tell me what that's called. I don't remember this, piece of wood here in the middle. But if anything goes awry, I do have my white gel pens. And I'm already kind of seeing places where I would go ahead and clean up this line a little bit. It's not going to be perfect. Oh gosh, it looks like there was stuff on that. It's not white, it's looking gray. It's not going to be perfect, but it's better. It brings a little more of a sharp edge there. And you just need to do that a little bit, like maybe right here. I don't really want to do it down there yet because I'm not sure I'm done with the water. Oh, that's what I was telling you. I was shutting my book to show somebody the Blue Lagoon thing, and I messed up, if this was still wet. But happy accident, because that kind of looks like water to me. So now I'm thinking maybe, especially when the water's only that much, like maybe I would even kind of touch it when it was wet and then make it, it does. Anyway, that might be a good way to add texture and make it look like water is what I'm trying to say. So, happy accident, like I said. Now, I do want to accent this sign over here. And these are waterproof markers. So I don't need to worry about doing this over, even if I'm not quite done with the building, because it will, I can paint over it. And then I want to add, some of these lines that should be here. I think I might paint those. They're not white. I don't want to leave them white. And then let's add this roof line. Oh, let's add this line. This line. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just trying to add contrast where I think the drawing needs it. And how do we know where the drawing needs it? I don't know. Just, well, that's not true. It needs it where I've lost edges, like this and this are really the same, pretty much the same value, almost the same color. So let's bring some definition to that. These two are blurring together. So for me, it's a way that's why I can be totally cool letting the paint run, because I know I can make things pop with a pen when I'm done. And then I get the nice flow and I get the definition. Let's see here. I feel like I need a little something going on with this boat. I want to test this because, again, blue, 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 blue. It kind of goes to white, but that's too high. Like, what's going on there? But it is in water, so maybe I'll kind of, I don't know, do a little something like that. Maybe that doesn't work. Maybe it does. I do think this was meant to be a shadow, but it's not quite defined enough to me to look like a shadow. And because it's blue, it looks very much like water. So let's just take some of this. Now I'm just going for kind of like palette mud kind of stuff. I'm just going to take a little bit of this green thing and come under here, watching the plant. Now the problem is, if I wet that, I lose the value. So if I soften that edge, I lose the value if I soften it with water. But what I could also do is soften it with a paper towel. And then, I don't know, does it look like a shadow? I don't know. I guess, that's the kind of thing that I have to look at tomorrow. What else would we like to do? I would like to have a little more accent on this handle. And now I'm just going to do the bottom of it because I'm doing where it's in shadow. Oh, I definitely want some more accent here on this pot. You know, actually I could do the whole pot. And then what I could do, oopsie, is now I have a pot that is outlined in space, which is no good. But what I really want is, and this may not work, I'm already sensing it might not work. And that's the trouble with marker, you know, like marker, it's over. There's no lifting or whatever. But there is, I'm not liking this because it's too, like everything else is feels kind of loose to me. This feels just like, whoa, heavy. So what I can do is I can come into my turquoise and I can try to cover that a little bit. I'm not going to cover it exactly, but I can make it maybe a little less noticeable. And now I'm just kind of wetting my brush. And I can even lift that out. Yeah, that was a little better. Okay, so now I feel like we need a little bit more here. This is like, you know, hidden away from the light. And adding lines like this will also kind of detract from that line because now I'm sort of making a point of it. So that's cool. Now I don't want to go all the way up. So I'm just going to try to bring that brush in like that. So I'm trying to do it kind of light. Let's do it up here so we get a little more contrast. Uh-oh. Stuck my hand in it. Okay. And then let's do another one there, and maybe on the back side here. Here. That would all be covered. The plant needs a little something else. I tried to lift paint. I kind of forgot about the light coming, you know, even though it's a rainy day, the light's coming obviously this way anytime you're in a window. So I tried to lift some after I put it down because I forgot to leave white. But now I feel like we're going to have to do a little bit more. I frankly was having a little bit of a hard time figuring out where the light would be or where the shadow would be because I always do left or right. But when you have an object in front of a window, the light's coming this way, meaning towards me. So I was like, ooh, what parts of these leaves would be highlighted? But you know, let's just give it a shot. So obviously this under here would be darker. So let's just put some kind of dark green back there. This would be darker. And I am going to try to skip around this pole now because it's kind of the same color. Okay, so I don't need this to be super dark. So I'm just going to rinse off my brush, kind of flick it off the water. And then see about that. Oh, I kind of like that little detail. The reason I like that is speaking of contrast, you know, now I have this tip of this leaf coming into the door opening, the door opener. So I like that. And then let's come over here. This one's not very juicy at all. Let's do something like this. And so this is another thing. I'm leaving kind of like a little rim here. I don't know if this is gonna work. But I'm doing it light enough that I can kind of deal with it tomorrow. I mean, frankly, I don't really enjoy spending this much time on a plant, but I've put it in the front of my picture. You know, I could have left it out. So, but I didn't. And it's kind of, I mean, I kind of want that to be the focal point, but the reality is this is a lot closer to the viewer. So I don't know. The reality is when I sat in the window, that kind of was my focal point. So maybe it's as it should be. Okay, so now I'm seeing this leaf come behind here. This is when it gets really hard to paint and talk. And try to get more of the action where you can see, because this is kind of an important part. I just want to soften this a little. And then maybe that I just want to pick up a little. And I know that, you know, I do want this lighter twig thing coming here, but I do know that part of this is going to be darker. So I could kind of drag some of that up there and down here. Might need a little bit more. And then let's do this one on this side. Okay. Oh, one more thing, but this I'm not going to do quite so dark. Let's do the back side of this guy. And that. So now I'm coming in with kind of a lighter green. I think it's a green gold, actually. And let's kind of hit some things that would be on the light. Now, I have to say, usually I would prefer to leave some of this totally white, but I just forgot. I was just kind of going for it. Okay, so I think that's enough for that. Now I do want to do something with this, because now it's like got blue on it, and what's probably best is to use a colored pencil. What I don't like about that is then if I don't use the colored pencil anywhere else, then I have this shiny thing on here. So I might just leave it as it is, frankly. One thing I kind of wished I had on my trip, which surprised me, was masking fluid. I've become kind of, like, frankly, I think I would have masked this whole thing off, or masked this fence, or maybe the boat, or definitely this Payne's or Wayne's, whatever. We already established, I don't know what that is. So I definitely would have done that. So I don't know. I think next time I might bring it. Now I do have some weird white part here that we need to fill in. Okay, that makes the, oopsie, I'm totally off screen. I just filled in this building that had white right there, and that makes that boat pop a little bit more. Yeah. And then I do want to paint these. Maybe I should paint them, you know what? Well, not fully. Something a little more sophisticated than just like a garish turquoise. And let me show you a good trick when I'm done with this. Okay, there we go. Are you ready? Check this out. Okay, find clean part of your paper towel and boop. Clean part, boop, boop. And then I've just lightened it a little bit, but I still have the joy of turquoise dormers. Okay. So let's see here. I feel like this needs, maybe not. Those pilings were quite stark. Actually, you know what I could do is I could take a bigger pen. Let's see here. Where's one of my bigger pens? I could go, rather than a marker, I could go in with a black pen. Maybe this is a little bigger. And maybe just some places, not every single one. Because the reality is, you know, that's a good point, that the shadows weren't the same everywhere. It kind of depended on where the clouds were and where the reflections were at that moment. But that's good. That brings a little more definition to those pilings. And I could also take a small pen and just to kind of carry on that idea, you know, not too much, because again, we're falling out of the importance of the picture, but just to bring some continuity to that. You know, I'll also tell you, it was a very different exercise sitting and doing this rather than doing this from a photograph later, because, I mean, the photograph helped me kind of put in the big shapes and kind of see what was happening with these lines. Ooh, I just saw a place I want another line. But it didn't, I think because I was there in person, it was very easy to see what interested me and what I didn't care about, or what I didn't need to include, or didn't, you know, find worth drawing. You know, there's a lot of detail in a scene like this that frankly is just not really worth our time, because that's not what, because it's hard to do and it's not what the point of the picture is. Including, this is not at all where, see, oh, that, I'm surprised it took me that long to see to do that, because this really made this window pop out. This is actually my favorite stage of the painting, like after I do the drawing and after I get the first layer down. It's really fun to me. It's like a puzzle, you know, like where do I need more contrast? Where do I need to make it pop? You know, window pane. Outlining that window pane, you know, really makes the picture pop. And I showed, I am going to do, the only other thing I want to do is, but I'm going to do it in gray, is outline, oops, that might be too dark. That's too dark. I thought, see, this is why I need this. I thought I had grabbed a different one. That one's not dark enough. But not dark enough is better than too dark, especially when it comes to markers. Let's see, I have all these in here that I haven't really been using. Okay, that one looks better. Yeah, that's better. And then let's do it over here too. And actually, I should have used more of a bumpy line. Because the mountains behind there were really cool. Oh, and I have to tell you, I was really happy how this cloud worked out. And all I did was add water to these shapes and then drop in some Payne's gray, and it kind of broke like that. And I was like, hey, that totally looks like stormy clouds. I'll take it. So that was a good little trick. So, Okay, so a couple things. I'm not totally loving the whites here, but I also feel like I don't want to fill it in because I kind of filled it in. I just feel like it might make things kind of heavy, but that's something I might look at tomorrow. I wish I'd remembered to leave whites here. Again, masking fluid would have helped. Oh, I need to do that little guy. Okay, let's just use a marker rather than mix more paint. Oh, but we've got to make him two-toned. He'll be darker on this side. Okay. Masking fluid would have helped with that. I'm really liking the looseness of these windows, and that was actually really fun to do. And when I did this Nyhaven one, I found it kind of tedious. Because all of these different reflections and whatever, and that just looks really tight. Of course, these are also closer, whereas you would see more of the reflection. I do like how I did that because it was, I don't know, it was crazy. The building across the street the building was reflecting in the water back to so it was like, I didn't frankly do it justice, but it was all funky and, cattywampus. So I don't know what was going on there. It was very cool. But it was tedious. I liked how it looked in the end, kind of. But this is, I don't know, a lot more fun and just kind of more loose. And it's windows and buildings, So I'm kind of liking that. And I don't know, what a nice evolution to see in my sketchbook that I can play around with it and then something else happens. So, and then I pointed out to my sketching friends last night that there's a huge drawing mistake in here. And I bet you haven't thought about it at all. Well, actually, Bill and Michael would think about it. But that's it. Only an architect would notice this problem. Which is that there's no window pane over here. And in fact, I am going to, if I can find my eraser, I'm going to erase my pencil lines. Mason, don't think less of me that I'm erasing my lines. But I just, this frankly was very complicated. It was like a window within a frame, within a window and a frame, and it's coming out and it's going, I just was like, you know what? I'm not interested. I just don't care. So I decided to not do the other frame, which seemed like a reasonable decision. This needs a little shadow. But what was great was it proved my point. I'm always telling you, nobody is going to notice your mistakes. That line that's in kind of the wrong place, or just, draw the line again. No, but by the time you do, well, actually, after my first layer, they didn't notice the mistake. So, because it's kind of a complicated scene. And so you're not looking at, well, actually is great. It did what I wanted it to do, which is make them look out the window. I mean, I can't say like I sat there thinking, that's not the right way to say it. I don't want to make my viewer look out the window. I don't know how to do art that way yet. Maybe I will someday. I don't even know if it matters. But the point is, I was looking out the window. And because of what I'm showing you, and how I'm choosing to show it, you are also looking out the window with me. And so you don't notice the window frame because, we don't notice window frames unless we're drawing them. And then we see how complicated they are. So anyway, that was cool. And I will look forward to sharing that with students in the future. It's very liberating when you're learning to draw to realize nobody is going to see this mistake. And I'm frankly not even going to see that. I mean, I'll see it, but it's not going to matter as much as the drawing that I've completed. So that mistake is just nothing. It's just part of the process. So I'm trying this little finger thing that I mentioned up here for water. And I decided I did it too much, not random. So I thought, well, let's try to do it a little random. Maybe it'll look like texture. But in any event, it gives me a shadow. That's so stupid. Why did I put that there? Okay, hang on a second. I gotta fix that. So I always, even when I started painting this, I, took water and dragged my paint over like I always do. But here's the problem with this one. The light is coming from the window, as we've discussed. So that doesn't make sense for there to be that over there. And so there's nothing I can do about it now, but I can make it less noticeable. Oops, that's too green. Green's not good for shadows because yellow shows light. So let's add a little purple. Kind of tone that down a little bit. Maybe this is making this a little darker, who knows, but anyway, that's kind of the best I could do to fix that mistake. Oh, that doesn't work. Now I'm gonna have to make that darker. I've lost that line entirely. Now that I've put that shadow there, now it just looks flat because it's the same tone. So anyway, tomorrow I will come and look at it again, see if there's anything else I want to change. Look at, when it's totally dry. These white pens don't really work if it's wet. So when it's totally dry in the morning, I can look at, is there anything I want to clean up? Any lines or edges, and then I can add a little more dark down here to differentiate this ridge away from the light. And then I don't know, then I think I'll be done. I don't know that I'm going to do anything with those. I'm kind of intrigued just to leave it the way it is. The reality is they were very black. They were very dark in the shadow and under that umbrella. I could look at the picture and see, but I just don't really feel like making them black. I'd rather just leave them white. Maybe. We'll see how we feel tomorrow. All right. I hope this was helpful, and probably nobody even watched this or made it to the end, but if you did, thank you. And even if you didn't, thank you for being there. All right. Good night.